What is going on, y'all? Welcome to the Mission Ready Men briefing right here on the SHR Media Network, where we are doing our best to train up warriors, not mealy-mouthed weaklings. Today is Tuesday, December 2nd. December 2nd. The year is just about over in the year of our Lord 2025. And this is where we come to get equipped to stand firm, speak truth, and fight back against the culture that is trying to steal your faith, your family, and your freedom, because this is a spiritual battle, not just political. And the fight is always raging. It never, ever takes a day off. So we're done pulling punches. Absolutely done pulling punches. The gloves are off, and we are getting after it. So be sure to follow us at Mission Ready Men on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X, Getter, Truth Social, all the socials, and be sure to subscribe to our Rumble and YouTube channels. And if you want to let everyone know that you are in this fight, go ahead and grab your gear at missionreadymen.com, click Shop 7 Armors, and check out all of our great designs there. All right, y'all, now that business is done, let's go. I trust you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving. We had a great time visiting with my parents and some new friends here in the great state of Arkansas. I smoked a turkey that everyone said was pretty good. I had some I had some critiques of my own, but I always do. But we smoked a turkey and some mac and cheese and all the other fixings. We had a great time. Now, it's been a while since we've been together, and I thought I had my show all mapped out, and then I just kept seeing things pop up, and I was like, oh yeah, I got to talk about that. Oh, come on, I got to talk about that. And there's a lot of stuff I want to get to. The show is packed. I may get to it. I may not. We may have to wait until next time. And then, of course, more stuff is going to pop up that we're going to have to talk about. And it's just a never-ending cycle. But we'll figure it out. All right. The first thing I need to obviously discuss is the tragic shooting of our National Guardsmen on Thanksgiving. I know it's been a few days now, but I didn't get a chance to talk about it. So I want to do that now. These two young National Guardsmen were doing their duty. They were doing their jobs in DC on patrol, meant to protect Americans, and they were attacked. A city that it is one of the most secure cities in the country, especially now that President Trump has basically put it on lockdown. But it has more security than Fort Knox, really. And these two guardsmen were shot in broad daylight. The victims, one of them, Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, 20 years old, joined the Guard in 2023, described by all her friends and colleagues as serious about her service, compassionate, someone who was always willing to step up before a lot of people in her age group knew what they wanted to do. She passed away on Thanksgiving Day. Sad, very sad. And on the day that we were thanking God for all of our blessings, her family was mourning her loss. And then we have Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, 24 years old, a member of the Air National Guard, critically wounded, fighting for his life. There were reports yesterday that he is responsive. He gave a thumbs up and was wiggling his toes. So he is on the road to recovery. These were not nameless, faceless uniforms. These were kids. These were kids, 20 and 24, just starting out. And they stepped forward to defend this country while half of the political class couldn't even be bothered to stand up for the national anthem. Now, this attack took place near a metro station, just steps from the White House. They were obviously targeted, and maybe not them specifically, but he went after uniformed military members with a .357 Magnum revolver. Now, I have been reliably told for a long time that gun-free zones are totally safe. Doesn't seem to be quite true. And I mean, we all knew that was true. But this isn't really about that right now. We'll get to that later on. But the shooter was an Afghan national. And the media doesn't want to talk about this. They don't want to acknowledge this, but he was the shooter's name. You know, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. The shooter was an Afghan evacuee who came into this country after the chaotic, just abysmal 2021 withdrawal. And he was granted asylum. And apparently he worked with CIA-backed Afghan units. And he was allegedly vetted. Now, the vetting that he got in combat is obviously different than the vetting that he should have received in order to claim asylum. But there was some vetting done because it was documented that he had severe mental health problems, suicidal ideation, isolated himself for weeks at a time, neglected his children, and had manic episodes. And all of that notwithstanding, he still passed the vetting process and was granted asylum. But yet, those of us who were pointing this out, we're the crazy ones for thinking that the system might possibly be broken. How did someone with this many red flags get asylum? It just doesn't make any sense. Compassion is not a security plan. There were warnings that apparently were ignored by these caseworkers. And his asylum, we're finding out, was approved just months before the shooting when he decided to drive across country to DC and gun down these two soldiers. So I mean, does vetted Does vetted even really mean anything anymore? Now, I'm not saying that there's some grand plan, some scheme or anything like that, some conspiracy theory. What I'm talking about is something even more dangerous than that, and that is just sheer incompetence. Incompetence. Incompetence can be absolutely deadly, as Specialist Sarah Breckstrom has, and her family unfortunately has found out. Now, let's just compare and contrast a little bit. The victims in this case had to pass background checks, drug tests, training, discipline, under constant scrutiny by the chain of command. And the shooter passed a system that, by all accounts, missed or dismissed every possible warning sign. One system holds Americans to the highest standards, as it should, and the other can't even connect the dots on a man whose own caseworker basically says that he's unstable. Sarah Breckstrom deserved better than this. So did Andrew Wolf. So did every guardsman, every soldier standing post that day. They all did. We have to honor their sacrifice by refusing to accept just the nonchalance with which some of these bureaucrats are handling the situation. We cannot accept it, because if it failed this spectacularly once, it will fail again. It will fail again. And the next time, it will be someone else's son or daughter wearing a uniform, and maybe not even someone wearing a uniform. Because we know these people are unstable at best. And if the people who are running this bureaucracy don't want to ask the hard questions, then we have to. Citizens, we have to demand answers. Have to. All right. There's a lot I want to get to. Today is election day in Tennessee, special election. And we talked about this woman, Afton Bain, on the ballot for the 7th Congressional District. She's running against a Republican named Matt Van Epps. This is the district that Marsha Blackburn represented before she moved on to the Senate. And this is a district that President Trump won by 22 points in the last election. 22 points. This election should not be close. It should not be close. And yet it is. And Republicans in Tennessee and everywhere else, really, but because we're talking about this special election right now, Republicans in Tennessee have to get off their butts and go vote. It's that plain and simple. And we talked about this Psycho Afton Bain. They're calling her, or they've dubbed her, the AOC of Tennessee. I think she's a little smarter than AOC, which makes her even more dangerous. And we talked about the last time some of the comments she made about Tennessee and how she basically hates everything that makes Nashville, which is in the district that she's going to represent. This should not even be close. This shouldn't even be a story beyond her hating Tennessee, hating Nashville. And yet she is within striking distance, and it should be a foregone conclusion that she'd lose, but yet we're dealing with this. And here's the thing: if you are a conservative and you want Trump's agenda to keep moving forward, you can't just vote every 4 years in the presidential election and think that that's going to carry the day, because it's not. You have to, if you want Trump's agenda to keep moving forward, you have to vote in people in these local elections, Congress, Senate, and even your local, your county, city, your municipality elections. You have to be on top of all of it. All of it. Because you have to vote in people who are actually going to advance the agenda that you want. It doesn't just magically happen because the guy you wanted in the White House is there. He has to have people that will help him advance that agenda. I mean, don't these people remember how badly Bribin and his puppeteers damaged this country over those 4 years? They had 4 years and they inflicted serious damage to this country. Trump hasn't been in office for a year yet. He hasn't, it's been almost a year, yeah, but not quite a year. So it's going to take time. You can't just say, and this is what the left does. They say, well, he said he was going to lower prices day one. Well, yeah, he did. He said that. But we all know that it takes more time than that. People who understand how the world works, understand how economics work, understand how politics work. Nobody with 2 firing neurons really believed that on day one, inflation was going to drop and prices were going to go down. Nobody thought that. If you did, I feel sorry for you. I really do. And just think back to 2017. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, it took 2 years for us to feel the positive effects of that law. So it's not going to happen overnight. And if you think it is and you get mad and decide not to vote because you're upset that it's not going as fast as you want, well then buckle up, because in 2028, if you have that same attitude, another leftist is going to be in office and they will have the House and the Senate. And make no mistake, if that happens, it will be an unmitigated disaster. And by not voting, by sitting out of these elections, you are setting the stage for that to happen. And then it'll be your fault. It will be your fault. And I really don't care if you're offended by that, because it is what it is. All right. Rant over. Well, rant pivoting. I haven't talked a lot about the Second Amendment in recent days and months, and I am going to start talking about that more. But right now, I want to focus on something that happened in the UK. And yeah, we really shouldn't care a whole lot about what happens over there. But as I've said before, what happens over there will end up over here. And let's take a look at this real quick, because this is I don't even know how to really describe this, but take a look at this. A British businessman arrested over a LinkedIn picture of himself holding a gun in Florida. West Yorkshire police arrested a British business owner, an IT contractor, over a picture he posted on social media, on LinkedIn, not Instagram, not Facebook, on LinkedIn, holding a shotgun. In fact, let's take a look at this. This is one of the pictures that he was arrested for sharing. He wasn't in England when this picture was taken. He was on vacation in Florida. And he had to deal with this, the fallout of this, for 13 weeks. Now, this guy, he took this picture, he posted this picture. The police came to his door. And he said, hey, I was in England. I can show you all this stuff. This was not a threat to anyone in any way, which we'll get to in a second. And they wanted nothing of it. They wanted to hear nothing about it. He was arrested on August 24th, and eventually those charges were withdrawn. But they said that he posted these pictures in an attempt to frighten someone. He was threatening and stalking someone. Those charges, again, were eventually dismissed. This is insane to me. Nothing says functioning democracy like the police showing up at your door because your LinkedIn profile made someone upset. And this is something that we've talked about before, because it's happened before. It's happened in other countries in Europe where somebody's social media post was deemed inappropriate, which ended up having with the police at these people's doors and arresting them. I mean, that's insane. But this is what happens. And not only that, I mean, he dealt with this for 13 weeks, and they seized all of his electronics, all of his equipment, and he was unable to do his job during that time until they returned his equipment. I mean, this was harassment for no good reason. And this is what happens when the government knows that their citizens are unarmed. They have absolutely no fear of the citizenry because they know that they have no means of resisting them. They have no means of resisting this tyrannical overreach. None. And to say that you don't need guns, you only need free speech. If you don't have guns, then this is what happens. You can get arrested for speech that makes somebody feel any kind of way. First, they took the guns over in the UK, then they took the speech, and now pictures are getting people arrested. Opinions. There was, I think I have it. There was a guy over in the UK who was arrested, and it's a 6-minute video, so I'm not going to play the whole thing. There's a few parts, but I didn't have it queued up. But he was arrested for posting on social media that he didn't want to see Palestinian flags in the UK. He didn't run up and beat down someone carrying a Palestinian flag or wearing a keffiyeh. He just said on social media he didn't like seeing Palestinian flags in the UK. And that warranted a visit from the police, and not just an officer. I mean, there was 5 or 6 different officers in this video. I'm looking at it right now. There's 2 in the frame, and I know that after it plays, there's like 2 or 3 more outside. It's ridiculous. So you can't even express an opinion contrary to the regime. And you know that's because there's a ton of Muslims who are in power over there. You know that's why that's going on. Canada Heavy Hall is in the chat. Thanks for being here. He says if the left gets in again, they'll fix it so they never lose again. Well, yes. Yes, you are absolutely right. And we don't even want to get into what's going on with guns up in Canada, do we? My goodness. What's going on with the UK and their speech police and guns and everything else. This is the canary in the coal mine. This could be what we are in for, especially if, as Canada Heavy Hall says, the left manages to cheat their way in again. And yeah, I said it. If you don't have the power to push back, this is what happens. This is what happens. The UK can now arrest you for posts that are grossly offensive, like, I don't want to see Palestinian flags all over my country. They see the First Amendment as dangerous. They see the Second Amendment and guns as barbaric. And apparently common sense is a hate crime. And this is the type of environment that made getting arrested for holding a gun in another country possible. In this country, at least for right now, the Second Amendment protects the First Amendment. The Second Amendment protects all of the rights that we enjoy. And in the UK, the lack of the Second Amendment or anything resembling it has created a government that has absolutely zero fear of public resistance. None. And when the government doesn't have any fear of resistance, doesn't fear its citizens, it polices LinkedIn and Instagram posts and will beat down your door for a digital misdemeanor, which in and of itself is insane. Disarmed citizens are compliant citizens. Compliant citizens are silent subjects. And silent, compliant subjects are the easiest to oppress. And this has met some resistance, but I came across this as I was prepping this story. But they are proposing, or someone is preparing, is about to propose, getting rid of jury trials for most crimes. The only crimes that will be subject to a jury trial under this proposal would be murder, rape, and some violent crimes. That's it. Now, why do you think that is? Well, because they know if they start putting people on trial for the things that they say online, most juries are going to say, unless somebody was actually advocating violence, most juries are going to say this is stupid and acquit those people. But the proposal is to get rid of jury trials, and people would be on trial in front of a judge or a panel of judges. A panel of judges who answer to the state. And this would just eliminate the public's, since they don't have guns, it would eliminate the public's last best defense against their last best check on state power. Because judges answer to the state. They are part of the system. Juries represent the people, and the people introduce an element of unpredictability, and governments do not like that. And the government appointed judges, they know how they should rule in cases like this. Whereas juries, for the most part, couldn't care less. They understand that their freedoms are being eroded, and they will act accordingly. They ban guns. Then they banned pictures of guns. Yeah, they banned pictures of guns. And then they banned speech that causes emotional turbulence, whatever that means. And now they want to eliminate juries. the last the last group of people that could actually stand up to the government and say no. That is tyranny. That is tyranny that we haven't seen in Western culture in a long time. When the when the public is disarmed, you don't have to fear them. You just have to be able to manage them. And frankly, you don't even really have to manage them with any type of civility. Obviously, posting a picture with a gun or saying you don't want to see Palestinian flags will get you arrested. And I'm talking about this because you can, we always talk about how what happens over there will happen over here if we let it. And they already got rid of guns, and we have the left constantly trying to take away guns. The left is constantly talking about misinformation and disinformation. They had that disinformation. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it was basically a ministry of disinformation or something along those lines. That caught a lot of backlash, and they scrapped it. But they're going to try it again. They are going to try it again. And we see how these activist judges are exercising all kinds of illegitimate authority over political cases. Judge Boasberg, case in point. The judge in Minnesota who dismissed, who threw out a conviction. The guy convicted by a jury of his peers of massive fraud, and the judge threw out the conviction. Just head over to the UK if you want to see what this country would look like without guns. And that is exactly what the left is trying to do. But we know that our rights are inherent and God-given. They're not privileges handed out by bureaucrats. And when they start to try and control speech and thought, they're competing with God's authority. And there really is no competition. But this is how tyranny gets cultivated. They redefine speech. They criminalize certain speech. And free speech, the right to bear arms, all flow from the idea, from the belief that human beings have a dignity because we were created in God's image. And we have these rights endowed by our Creator. And this didn't happen overnight. The UK didn't just wake up one morning and decide, okay, we're going to be authoritarians now. Didn't happen overnight. It was a slow decay, a rot that infected the society. And disarmed citizens become censored citizens, self-censored subjects, as I said before. And then they become voiceless defendants standing in a box before state-appointed judges who are told how to rule in such cases. And as long as we have these leftists, America is not immune. We have to be ever vigilant to stand against this madness. If you want to keep your freedom of speech, if you want to keep your right to keep and bear arms, if you want to keep your freedom to worship and stand as a mission-ready man of God, then you need to fight for the Second Amendment like your life depends on it. Because history shows that it does. All right, y'all. You know, let's get a word in from our sponsor. And we're gonna have another sponsor coming on board here shortly, but until then, that'll be a surprise. Hopefully, in the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to talk about that. But the sponsor for today's show is Carry Girl Gear. And Christmas is coming. So if you want to get yourself some really cool gifts for your wife or your girlfriend or your daughter, check out carrygirl.com. And it's not just t-shirts or sweatshirts, hoodies, all kinds of cool stuff. And check out this. You may have seen me with this. This is the Anatomy of a Revolution mug. And I'm not on the screen right now, but check it out. This is a great mug. One of my favorites. And from the Brown Bess to the Pennsylvania rifle, many musket variants were used during the American Revolutionary War. This is the description of the mug. And our Anatomy of a Revolution mug is an ode to that tool that helped secure America's independence, as we were just discussing. So check out all of the great drinkware that we have. The tea club. There was a tea club that we had, but now all of those teas are public. I will not comply. Blessed. Just all kinds of great designs. So please go ahead and check out the tea club. Check out our drinkware, hats, leggings. And these just dropped. These just dropped the other day. Loved, called, chosen tea. God is good sweatshirt. You really can't go wrong. And check out, we still got the tumbler on sale. A pretty on point tumbler that you can customize with your name, or your wife's name or your girlfriend's name. So go ahead and check all of that out. A Grace collection. You really can't go wrong. And as I said, these make perfect holiday gifts. All right, y'all. I am Big E, and you are watching or listening to the Mission Ready Men briefing here on the SHR Media Network, where you can catch my good friend Sackhead Sean with the Edge of Liberty every Monday and Wednesday at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. The Reaver of Common Sense with Jersey Joe every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern and 6 p.m. Pacific. And BZ with the Berserk Bobcat Saloon every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Please check out all those great shows, like and subscribe. Share all the content that those guys create, that we all create and put out there, because we're looking for a huge breakthrough. I'm not sure exactly how many subscribers we have at the moment. The last time I looked, we were at 670, I believe. But let me see if I can pull it up and see where we're at. Wow, we are at 682. Awesome. Thank you all. Hopefully, please share all of our stuff. Share the channel. Help us get to 700 by the end of the year. We got a month to do it, and based on the way we've been growing these past few months, we can do it. Help us get to 700 so that we can start the new year off with a push, and see if we can get over 1,000 by early next year. But please, like I said, like and subscribe, share everything. We want to reach as many people as we possibly can and help us get to that 700 mark by the end of the year. All right, now back to our regularly scheduled programming. And this is something that I actually had this before the Thanksgiving holiday that I wanted to talk about. But other things happened and I didn't get a chance to. Masculinity has been on a decline of late. And I came across this story and I wasn't surprised per se. I was actually probably more disappointed, but check this out. The rise of the performative male, how young men are experimenting with masculinity online. What do you even say to that? What do you even say to that? Like I said, masculinity has been under attack, has been on a decline, and is collapsing, and will continue to collapse if we don't do something about it. Young men are experimenting with masculinity online. That's sad, is what it is. But what's happening is they're trying to figure out, I guess, how to be men while performing, I guess. Well, yeah, performative male, performing for strangers on social media. And I've talked about this before when Dana Bash talked about the leftist men and that brand of masculinity at the DNC. And this is just more evidence of that. But where did this come from? How did this start? Well, we've talked about it before. We know how it starts. It started when fathers were kicked out of the home. And we now have a record number of boys growing up without their fathers. And then when they don't have their father there from whom they can learn masculinity and how to be a man, they learn it from nobody. Some of them learn the wrong lessons from gangs. Some of them learn from their mothers and sisters who are raising them. And then worse yet, some of them learn from influencers online with long hair and painted nails and makeup and suffering from an identity crisis. And they see it online and they think that's perfectly acceptable. Without their fathers, boys they don't absorb masculinity. They absorb vibes. That's the thing these days. That's what the kids say. It's a vibe. And those vibes are given to us courtesy of social media and regular media for that matter. Single parent households, and then academia as well, and academia telling them that their natural instincts are toxic. Society replaced fathers first with money and the welfare system, and then replaced them with algorithms. And when you tell boys that masculinity is dangerous, what do you think happens? They stop wanting to be masculine. Shocking, I know. And the version of masculinity that Dana Bash was talking about at the DNC is emotive, decorative, and submissive. Sorry, y'all, I'm just watching the chat. Some of it I'm not gonna bother to put up, but you can see it, I guess, on YouTube. This is the cultural expectation is that men be soft enough to avoid being toxic, but assertive enough to advocate for leftist, feminized, progressive politics. And we've created a generation or two of men who worry more about their man bun and their skincare than their convictions. And the article that I had up there, it talks about men experimenting with masculinity, and the article doesn't even really do a good job of explaining what that really means. And maybe I just missed it because I just thought the the whole thing is just utterly ridiculous. But what I kind of think it means, and we can take this back to the to the trans movement, to the trans agenda. We have men cosplaying as women, pretending that they're women, and this left-leaning society is telling them that they make better women than women do, as we see with the allowing men to perform in women's sports. And we just saw that one gigantic dude win the strongest woman competition. So men are not just cosplaying there, but cosplaying with basically whatever will get them validation, whether that be pretending to be a woman or living out some fantasy, some leftist idea of what masculinity should be, because being a strong man capable of handling himself and being able to lead, that's toxic. And it's happening because men have been, as I said, kicked out of the home, and boys growing up don't have strong male role models to model themselves after. So they're kids, they'll model themselves after whatever they see. And because of this permissive culture that we live in, and affirming every crazy notion that comes into people's minds, it's just perpetuating that feminine energy, that feminine behavior that they're trying to get men to subscribe to. And if they buck that trend and decide they would rather be, despite all the outside influence to the contrary, would rather be a traditional, confident, capable man, they get punished. And as I alluded to earlier with the whole gender non-conforming nonsense, the whole the pretending to be men, pretending to be women, and cosplaying as women. Once all of that rushed in, we have men displaying these feminine traits, gender ambiguity, more men exploring this, boys exploring this trans identity madness. It turns out that when you remove fathers, you're not fighting the patriarchy. You're not removing the patriarchy. You're removing masculine energy and identity stability, and doing a massive disservice to these young boys. When you embrace masculinity, when you display a masculine identity, when you show yourself as being strong and capable, able to lead, able to accomplish things, society calls you a threat. If you're feminine, if you wear long hair, heels, and wear makeup and all the rest of it. Society pats you on the back and says how stunning and brave you are. And if you express any type of confusion, any type of ambiguity as to what gender you think you are, there are only two, but just for the sake of argument, if you display any type of confusion in that regard, you get instant applause. Counseling sessions, puberty blockers and hormone therapy, and then a parade. Weak men are not born. They're cultivated. They're manufactured. And that's what this leftist culture wants. They want a generation, they want generations of weak men. Men that will not stand up for what's right, that will just go along to get along. Manhood is not a vibe. Manhood is not a TikTok trend. Manhood is not, it's not any of that. It is a calling assigned by God, not a committee of gender studies professors. Strength, courage, leadership, sacrifice, responsibility, service. Those are all masculine traits that scriptures, I mean, those are the traits that Jesus himself displayed. Those are the traits that we are supposed to model ourselves after. But this modern culture deems all of that as toxic. And unsurprisingly, it's what scripture says is necessary. And we all know how they feel about scripture. They hate it. So we have to rebuild fatherhood. We have to reestablish male spiritual leadership, teach boys discipline, resilience, and an identity grounded in something eternal, which is the word of God, not algorithms that change every 5 minutes. The cure for performative masculinity, as this article pointed out, is actual masculinity. Fatherlessness created this rift in culture, feminized what remained. And the vacuum pulled boys into this into this confusion and gender experimentation madness. Milepost 54 says it's an unrelenting onslaught to create weak men, and removing fathers from the family equation is intentional. Yes, it is. I agree completely. And we know now that the breakdown is pushed by leftists. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We know this. Toxic femininity. You are absolutely right. Absolutely right. If society wants to turn men into performers, okay. But right on through here, we are going to teach them to be warriors, biblical warriors. And that is a show that will never get canceled. Never. All right, y'all. We got about 25 minutes left, and I think we can get through this and get to some things that I really wanted to talk about. I this isn't something I would normally even talk about, but it happened to hit something that I really appreciate. But I came across this video, and this kid, I can only describe him as a kid, this young philosopher, we'll call him. he has this idea that white men don't struggle. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but he says at some point, and maybe I can't remember exactly what part he says it in, but he said that black women basically have a monopoly on struggle, but white men don't struggle at all. let's just take a look, and then we'll get into it.
If you are specifically a straight white man and you say that Spider-Man Peter Parker is your favorite superhero of all time, unfortunately, I have to remind you that is a red flag. So I was in.
And just so Spider-Man happens to be my favorite superhero of all time. Since I began reading comic books when I was probably 5 or 6 years old, Spider-Man has been my favorite. So that's what prompted this, but let's continue.
I was in Discord talking to a couple of my girl best friends, and we were talking about how your favorite superhero says a lot about you.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. If you think that, you have bigger problems. But anyway.
When a straight white man says that their favorite superhero is Spider-Man, my guard is up immediately, and I already see it as a red flag, because here's the thing. Now, for a very long time, black people have been informing people that white people want to beat us so bad, but without all the negative aspects.
Where does he get that? What? This is a condensed version of the video. It goes on. It's actually about 4 minutes long, I think. Anyway, let's continue.
That come with being black. They steal our culture, they appropriate our culture, even profit off of our culture. But yet they can't tell me the first thing about slavery or the Jim Crow era or, basic voting rights. They can't tell you the history behind hip hop music, even though they love hip hop music. They can't tell you the history about black fashion, but even though they love wearing black fashion.
What is black fashion? What does that mean? People who have known me for a long time, since high school, my fashion was jeans and polos. Still is. Is that black fashion? What is black fashion?
So when a white dude says that Peter Parker is their favorite superhero, I always ask them why. And it's the same answer every single time. They say he's relatable. And I always get confused about this whole relatability thing, specifically with white people towards Peter Parker. Because what is relatable about him?
Only everything.
And even if you don't read comic books, Peter Parker is the character who has gone through a lot of struggle. And we all know that white men, specifically straight white men, do not struggle at all. So what about that character are you?
I'm not even going to play the rest of it. It's ridiculous. White men don't struggle. I do not know a white person, male or female, who has not struggled at some point in their lives. I know many who are struggling right now. So what does that even mean? Straight white men don't struggle. the bubble that this guy must live in, the lack of life experience that he must have to come up with this ridiculous. White men don't struggle? Come on. It's historically, epically inaccurate, and just morally bankrupt. It doesn't make any sense. Did the white coal miners who died of black lung, did they struggle? Yeah. White farmers who lost generational land, generational farms, they struggled. White working class men in America have one of the highest suicide rates in the country. Veterans who are overwhelmingly white, did they never ever get shot in combat? Did they ever not see one of their friends get shot? Are they not homeless? Are they not disabled? Are they not suffering from PSD? White men don't struggle? Are you serious right now? And you're telling me that a white man has never lost a spouse, lost a child, lost a parent? Really? Just, I don't know. It's beyond infuriating. And like I said, I came across this because Spider-Man is my favorite hero. And he says that Spider-Man isn't relatable. Peter Parker isn't relatable. He's broke. He's overworked. He chose responsibility and duty over the life that he wanted. He lost loved ones right in front of him. He gets knocked down constantly. And Stan Lee once said in an interview a long time ago that he created Peter Parker to be just a regular guy. But apparently, if you tick the right identity boxes, you're not allowed to feel those things anymore, or something. I mean, this guy is a genius. A genius. And this guy let me catch up on some of these comments, some of these. As a racist, his argument is stupid and juvenile. He needs to go back to racist school. I think he's had enough of that, quite honestly. The Queen Bee says, I can relate to Wonder Woman because Biggie wonders all the time what the heck I'm doing. I got no comment. I got no comment. So yeah, I mean, this is just utterly ridiculous. And this is a problem that I mean, we see it all the time. People filter everything through race. And I blame Barack Obama for this because I am old enough to remember when race meant absolutely nothing. Nothing. It was it was just happenstance. Your friends just happen to be black, white, Asian, whatever the case may be. And then Barkey came along and screwed up everything. And now we're back to this nonsense where everything gets filtered through the prism of race. And I absolutely hate it. Because the reality is, there's really only one race, the human race. And we're either going to, we're either children of God or we're not. And those of us who have given our life to God, we are going to pray for those who haven't. But those are the only two divisions, I guess you would say, that matter. Are you a child of God, or are you rebelling against him? That's it. And if you're a child of God, I will see you in heaven. If you're not, I am going to pray for you that you become one. But the race is a happenstance of your heritage. In the grand scheme, it means nothing. Peter Parker, Spider-Man, whatever the case. And I know this is kind of a silly way to get into this subject, but I like Spider-Man, what can I say? But that's not, whether or not you find him relatable or whatever the case may be, is not the red flag. The red flag is the ideology presented by this guy. Anyone can struggle, anyone can rise if they put their mind to it, really. And people struggle, and their struggles are not based on the color of their skin. And to suggest that is beyond stupid, is beyond moronic. Wow. I guess this guy thinks he's enlightened or something, because he's got the formula that tells us who we can relate to based on pigmentation or something. I don't know. You know, I will, this next one, I don't have, it's too in-depth for us to get into at the right now. I'll go way over if I start that now, so we'll get into that. We'll get into that next time. It has to do with Minnesota and something that went on in Boston, which we'll get to. So let's try to get you out of here with some lighter stuff. Let's get into some Scott Jennings zingers, because he had a good one that I thought was absolutely amazing. Scott Jennings was on Abby Phillips' show. Again, I mean, he's the only reason to really watch that show. he is the absolute only reason to watch that show. And here is here is a clip of him just destroying the panel. If I can pull it up. There we go.
Pretty much a 50-50
Scott,
issue, and that's
it
fine.
is-
But some people think he hasn't gone far enough.
Scott, just a second.
I know you think he's
53%
gone too
say,
far.
let me just say it again, 53% say that the process for deporting people has been mostly unfair. My point is only
I agree.
that
It's unfair
Naira
that
is...
it takes so long to get
Scott,
rid of
can
him.
you
have
let
a
me-
final
just
order
a
I would
second.
answer
You
it
should
there.
Did you catch that? I know this sounds kind of low, but she said that 53% say that the process for deporting people is mostly unfair. And Scott Jennings says, I agree, it's unfair that it takes so long.
please
Scott,
let the
just a
host of the
second.
show talk?
My point is that what Naira is talking about, which is that there are some people who were fine with Trump saying he was going to get violent criminals out, all of that. And they did not believe, because I remember you were sitting at my table saying that, oh, Trump is going to start with murderers and criminals, and they're not going to really be able to get to all the other people because it's going to take too much time. That also didn't happen because there has been indiscriminate arresting of people of all different stripes. And
I think-
a lot of people in the middle who were okay with some form of deportation of violent criminals are now looking at
I
that
think
and they're thinking that things have gone too far.
I think that what Katie and
Pretty much a 50-50
Scott,
issue, and that's fine.
Abby Phillip is perhaps the worst. She has taken over for Joy Reid as the worst talking head on cable news. I can't think of anyone worse. I mean, yeah, we have Rachel Maddow, but she's hardly on anymore. So, I mean, yeah, it is unfair that it takes so long. And I don't know where they're getting their numbers from, because I don't know anyone who voted for President Trump who thinks that they're deporting too many people. As far as I'm concerned, it's not moving fast enough. But that's just me. One other one I want to get to here. This was hilarious. That's interesting. Now, we talked about this back in June. Maddow is of zero significance. Yeah, I don't disagree. Jennings is infinitely more tolerant of these morons than I ever would be. Yeah, he is, but I think he's also getting paid a pretty handsome sum to deal with these morons. So I'm sure that softens the blow a little bit. But we talked about this guy back in June during Pride Month. There was a bar in Idaho that during Pride Month, they had Heterosexual Awareness Month. And if you came into his bar and I guess were straight, you got a free beer or something like that. I can't remember the exact details, but he got a lot of publicity for that. Well, he's back in the news. The Old State Saloon in Eagle, Idaho, is offering a whole month of free beer to anyone who assists U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement in identifying and deporting illegal immigrants from the state. This is awesome. And I actually thought that stuff like this would would catch on and more people would do straight pride months and stuff like that, but it didn't happen. I hope this catches on, and I hope more bars do stuff like this, because this is fantastic. Old State Saloon added that it may award multiple months to one person if multiple illegals are deported. Oh, that is awesome. Any illegal who'd like to self-deport may have one free beer before ICE responds to Old State Saloon to pick you up. Oh, man. Milepost 154 is in Idaho. That is awesome. Absolutely awesome. Naturally, the promotion has caused an uproar among the left. Well, of course. Of course. They're perpetually offended about stuff. Facebook has removed the bar's post announcing the promotion. I mean, of course they did. And they're getting trolled with 1-star reviews and stuff like that. To be expected, but somehow I don't think he cares very much. Oh, hey, I didn't realize that, BZ. BZ is milepost 154. Awesome. Have you had an occasion to visit? Are you near Old State Saloon? Oh man, this is absolutely amazing. So yeah, with that, I think I will go ahead and get you guys out of here. That's all I got for you right now. I will keep trying to make each episode better than the last. If anything that I said today hits home, please take a second to like and subscribe and share this show with everyone that you know, because I am not just here to run my mouth. I am here to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ and carry the banner of faith, freedom, and hope for future generations. And if you want some cool gear, head over to missionreadymen.com, click Shop 7 Armors, and check out all of the great designs we have there about bold faith, true grit, and unapologetic patriotism. And as always, when seconds count, the police are only minutes away, but the Lord is right there with you. So keep your prayers going up and your head on a swivel. God bless.